Fred, have you got used to having a world-class daughter yet?
Yeah, I have actually, because, Andrea has been a world-class diver. I mean, not a world-class diver, but she's been a very good diver since the age of 12, 13 years old, when she was actually competing on a national level and winning competitions. And when she was 15 years old, she came from behind and she won the British Championship. She was the British champion at just 15 years old. Then she was in the Olympics at 16. She was the best Brit. She was 7. And now she's currently the European champion, the Commonwealth champion, the junior world champion. She's 3rd in the world. And she was the first Brit to ever win a diving medal in the World Championship. But it started when she was 8 years old. There was a talent spotting day at school with a local club. She went, she was a very active young little girl, and they tested her on strengths and flexibility, the kind of stuff that you would need when you're diving or doing gymnastic. She loved it, but who wouldn't? Because every little girl, every little boy loves jumping in the pool, and before you know it, you're just flipping around, doing all sorts of difficult stuff, and then you are in the Olympics. Just an incredible journey. But for me, when I think about that, I think about the opportunity that she's had and how lucky she was to be there in the school that she was in at the time when there was a talent spotting day, because if it wasn't for that, maybe she wouldn't have never realized that dream and become a world-class diver.
It's incredible how you can sometimes fall into these situations, but if you've got that talent, I genuinely believe it will be unearthed somehow. Finding that one thing that you love, most importantly.
But she didn't know she loved it until she was introduced to it by chance.
Yeah.
And then, although she was good, because, she's sporty, she's strong, she's flexible, but really she's got a will of iron. Her mind is just incredible, and she knows who she is, she knows what she wants, she knows that she wants to be the best diver in the world. All this, when you think about the talent that she had or she has, actually is all down to the hard work and the dedication. Yeah. Because from the age of 11, 12, Andrea was already so dedicated and so focused on diving that sometimes I'd say, okay, let's go here for the weekend, for example. And she would say, no, Daddy, I've got to train on Saturday. I've got to train on Sunday. Yeah. And, I'm like that. I think that when the work is here and when you want to be good at something and you want to become something, you've got to put in the effort. You've got to put in the hard work. So I recognized that. In the same time, I was thinking, oh God, wouldn't it be nice to go for a weekend here or a weekend there? But she wanted to follow her dream. And she was doing exactly what I was doing. So what can I say? What can I say?
The dream continues. She's recently just qualified for Paris 2024. Home games, essentially. I take it you'll be there in the audience?
Yeah, of course. She hasn't qualified. She has qualified a spot for Team GB, and now she's going to fight for a spot. She has qualified with the synchro. I think if Team GB wouldn't choose her for the synchro, I'll be very, very surprised. But she has to fight for an individual place, and that's going to start from January next year. The clock starts to 0.
But on a world level, she's qualified the quota spot.
Yes, she did.
So let's just put a little stamp there. Brilliant start. It must fill you with an immense amount of pride being able to go and watch your daughter.
Yes, I'm always raising my arms like this, but when I'm watching Andrea, I don't say anything. I'm just watching her in silence. I don't say anything. I want to be as anonymous and as invisible as I can in the crowd. Only when the competition is finished do I go and see her and speak to her, and I just want to leave her that space. It's her space, it's her area, and it's up to her to enjoy it. She's going to be the focus of the show.
Do you get nervous watching her?
Sometimes yes, and sometimes no.
Fred. That board. Have you been off there?
Yeah, I've trained with Team GB for 5 days. At one point, maybe it was day 2 or day 3, Andrea was on the ground floor and she was looking at me. I was on the 10-meter board. She said to me, Daddy, you got to relax. I can see your heart beating in your chest. My heart was beating in my chest. I was so petrified. The meaning of the word commitment, when you are on that 10-meter board and you just throw yourself up in the air, because that's the idea. Yeah. You've got to propel yourself as high up as you can so that you can have more height to rotate in order to fall. I was just going like this. and then sometimes I panicked and I was just going, oh, and I've got all these pictures of me going like this up in the air and falling flat. And I was just black and blue. My legs were black and blue.
It is brutal. I'd definitely go for, I think I would get myself as low as possible to then fall.
You haven't done it?
Rather than jump up. I tried it once when I was 12.
Right.
Because they thought it would be, aerial awareness can also contribute to supporting the needs of a professional snowboarder. So yeah, definitely something I've dabbled with. But now, at the age of 32. I don't think I'd.
I think you'd be fine
I
because
do.
you're still strong, you're still flexible. When I done it, I was 49 or something. And at my age, it's not good news. Your flexibility is gone and your fear just increases. I
Yeah.
have never been so scared. Even when I was in the ring boxing, just about when the bell rings and, when you're about to go for a fight, I wasn't scared as when I did the diving.
Now, you've got two incredibly talented children. I've seen you sparring with your son, Andrea excelling on a world level. Have your children inspired you to step up your game?
Of course, all the time. I mean, when I see what they are doing, and for example, if I go on just a simple walk with my son, the speed that he walks at, I just can't keep up. So it's just inspiring me to go faster and to keep up with him. The little things like that, but also the way they think, they're doing things. I think it's very inspiring and it motivates me. And you want to be, as a father, you want to be able to keep up with your kids. You don't want to be left behind.
Setting the bar they are.
Yes.
Andrea and your son, both physically, are very capable. So obviously it's in the blood. Looking at what they've achieved, does it ever make you question your career path and whether you should have followed that physical attribution that you clearly have as well?
Well, maybe, but you never know what you're going to do in life. And life takes you to places you've never expected to go. Or, you just don't know what's going to happen. I think that for me, the only thing that you can do in life is be positive and be the best that you can be and always be good with people and with the thing that you do. Because invariably, things will start to happen. And the other thing also is you got to dare. We all have a lot of guilt inside us. We all have a lot of fear. But once we are able to understand this guilt and this fear, then I think that the key is then to just go and have faith in ourselves, believe in what we can achieve and just go for it. That's the only thing you can do because you really never know what life is going to throw at you and you've got to be ready for anything.
Your current lifestyle, your job takes you all over the world. It puts you in a multitude of different scenarios. How important is your wellness regime to being the best version of you?
Well, that's key. I mean, I couldn't start a day without any physical activity. For me, that's very important. As soon as I wake up, the first thing I want to do is I want to go and exercise. And I mix up my training all the time. This morning, I was cycling for 20 minutes. Then I did another 20-minute session on weights, cold shower, coffee, and then I'm coming to meet you. But it's also about how you eat. And the kind of diet that you have, whether you eat seasonal produce, the kind of produce that you eat, instead of having tinned or pre-packed meal and stuff like that, cook yourself, make sure it's fresh, make sure it's tasty, drink lots of water. This is just so important. For me, the sport that I do, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon, this is my space. This is where I can concentrate. This is where it's a bit like a sort of a meditation in a way. I get into my zone. Very often I don't listen to music. It's just about the sound of my heart beating inside my chest and my blood pumping inside my vein. I'm just pow, pow, pow. And I love to feel my heart raise, and to go to a level of 150, 160 beat per minute, and slow it down and bring it back up again. I get excited by that.
I can really, really resonate with that. And my routine this morning was much the same. Get up, get out, have a run, good coffee. And you feel like before the day's even begun, you've owned your time.
You got the energy.
A huge sense of accomplishment as well.
That's right.
Tell us about the boxing. I've seen you sparring with your son. There's more to boxing than meets the eye, and it does seem to be one of those things which is on trend, right? It's cool to do. But I've recently been bitten by the bug, and the mental agility required, it's addictive.
Yeah, because with boxing, it's obviously it's very physical, very physical. But the mental side of boxing is very important and just as important as the physical side of it. And the other aspect of it is about the confidence and the self-belief. That is key. And now that you've started boxing, I was watching your video the other day when you were doing the pad work. I think you should do a fight. I think you should contact the Misfit Boxing, get onto a white collar card and just do a fight. You've got to train for, at the very minimum, 3 months.
Okay.
And it's going to be a very different experience for you to go into the boxing ring, the boxing gym and train for a fight. Because suddenly it's not something that you do leisurely. You are really going to get into the essence of boxing, into what it means. And I think that for me, with boxing, it's very much linked to philosophy. If you think about the Greek philosophers, like Socrates, for example, was one of the greatest philosophers ever. But Socrates was also a fighter. I mean, You know, he was taking part in battles, you know, fighting people with a sword. The Greeks were boxing, you know, so it's not inconceivable to be both a philosopher and a thinker and a humanist, as well as a fighter and a boxer. And I like that duality like this.
It's a beautiful symphony where two worlds collide.
Yes, it is. It is indeed, because it's about bringing everything together. The amount of concentration, the amount of thinking that you've got to do in a ring is just insane. But you've got to be fit. You've got to be super fit, and you've got to know what you're doing.
That's, I think, the biggest thing. And that's for me recently. I started boxing back in March. Myself and my best friend committed to once a week. And initially I was like, I just want to hit it really hard and I want to sweat. And in the last 3 weeks, that's changed to, I want to understand this and I want to be challenged mentally, because it's giving me this new sense of physical high.